I'm Dr. Carol Francis. I'm a clinical psychologist and have been for 44 years working with people who have suffered from all sorts of traumatic situations, whether they're soldiers, whether they're police officers that have been working with other traumatic moments, and whether they're healthcare workers. And so here we come to a period of time where healthcare workers need to be told thank you and helped in very, very concrete and very specific ways. And you need to find, as a healthcare worker, those ways that work for you, recipes that work for you to be able to have a daily recovery process, a daily recovery program that fits you. And what works one day may not match the next day. So as a consequence, I do have a book called Recovery After Trauma Work for Healthcare Workers. I'm giving it out free to every single healthcare worker I can and their families. In addition, healthworkersupport.com. Healthworkersupport.com is a website that's free, full of courses, materials, meditations, assistance to you that enables you to be able to tap into what type of recovery you need on that day. And it's also set up for your families as well. So this is a way of saying thank you, but it's also a way of acknowledging that you are in a situation like those soldiers were in World War I, World War II, Vietnam, where there is post-traumatic stress. And we now call it secondary traumatic stress, STS. There's also compassion fatigue, which is a very real component of what you're dealing with every day. And there's also the burnout, professional burnout. So in the most clear and honest way to say this, every human being has their own formula for decompressing, for getting away from the stress, for dealing with the stress in the moment. Every person has their own recipe. And what happens is that if you try to use someone else's recipe, it's great. Experiment with it. Find out if that works for you. But it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. For me, exercise, getting a real sweaty exercise in is a decompression for me. For me, watching something on television that is a totally carefree, off, silly topic, even adventure, something that's totally unrealistic to me, sci-fi included, is an escape for me. I do not like to listen to psychological shows that are dealing with psychological issues because that's what I deal with all day long. And I love my work. But in my off time every day, I do recovery. I recover so that I am, in a sense, taking a shower from what it is that I've been bombarded with and allow myself the next day when I show up for my clients and my patients, fresh and refreshed and ready to be there for them. You don't want to carry the stuff of them around with you, your patients. You don't want to feel like you have to carry them in your off time, even though you have a great deal of compassion. So you want to make space for yourself. So healthworkersupport.com is a way of making space for you because it is a self-care. You can show up for yourself in very short amount of times. You can listen to a video. You can hear a podcast. You can take these meditations that are 5 to 10 minutes long and recover, or you can read the books that are given to you free on that website. So, see, there's formulas there for you. So just like in eating an omelet, let's just say that some people like pine nuts and olives and mushrooms, and other people like avocado, cheese, and salsa in their omelets. No one person is the same. So don't feel bad that just because your way is different or weird or unique from somebody else's way, that yours is wrong. In fact, being fully and completely you in your recovery time is a way of shifting back into the you that you are. It's the same way also that each of you have different reasons for why you're healthcare workers. And go ahead and celebrate why that is. Are you in a lineage of healthcare workers and that's just what people do? Do you do it because you love patients and you love to help be part of their healing process? Is it because someone in your family suffered and you want to help other people not suffer? Is it because you have an interest in science and math and the way the body works? What is your thing? Or is it just because it was what you were good at school and here you are years later with this being your profession? Or is it because economically it really does help you be able to have the things that you want in your life? Any of those reasons are completely okay. You don't have to be the most loving, the most compassionate person, but you do have to do things professionally. If you want to be a loving and compassionate person as a nurse, great. Everybody will be a benefactor of that, except you may suffer compassion fatigue. because human beings enjoy into their folly. They completely have folly. There's not a single one of us that doesn't do really stupid things. Why in the world would you do that? Have you ever watched a TV show and the hero or the heroine is walking into a room and you know that there's someone there that they shouldn't greet? Don't go in there. Don't go in there. Why would you do that? Well, that's kind of the folly. Why does a person do the things that are innately going to be endangering to them? Not getting a vaccination when there is a deadly virus or a deadly disease going on is human folly. It makes no sense whatsoever, except there are those people who have had trouble with vaccinations, and everybody now becomes afraid, is it going to be me? Am I going to be one of that small percentage? And so we can say it's human folly to not get it, but there's probably reasons why they're deciding not to get it. Have they been duped? Have they been conned? Have they gotten very ill and sick? Are they like really pro holistic health and this just feels like putting some sort of poison in their system? They may have reasons for their folly. An individual that goes out and rides a motorcycle as fast as they possibly can, the reason for that folly is because it feels so fabulous to go at that speed and to get the air running through your body and get that thrill, that adrenaline of moving fast. It may be folly for some people to run a marathon, and other people feel like it's the best thing that they could possibly prepare for and the best thing they could possibly do. You see, everybody has their human folly, and from different perspectives, it really is human folly. It's just stupid. And so compassion fatigue runs into those moments when you are dealing with the person's stupidity, and from your point of view, and possibly from a lot of people's points of view. And if they would just do things differently, if people would just eat healthy, if people would just exercise, if people would sleep, if people wouldn't drive crazy, if people wouldn't shoot each other with guns or stab each other with knives, if people just wouldn't do dangerous things that break legs and break arms. Almost everything that walks into a hospital, someone could say, why in the world did you do such and such? If you had only done something different, you wouldn't be here. And now we have the COVID. And so in the process of having the COVID, it's kind of stupid to not get the vaccination because chances are you would not be in the hospital. You would not be endangering your family members, and you would not be endangering your life and all the complications that you and your loved ones are going to have to suffer because your life is endangered. And so you're the first line person to see when someone does a life-threatening, dangerous decision or action. And you are going to feel irritated and frustrated and angry that they would do something stupid like that to themselves. And then when they continue to say that it was the right decision after the consequences that they're dealing with, you can still say, why would you do something so stupid? And there is going to be a part of you that doesn't want to help that person as much as someone else, and you'll fight it because you'll do the professionally right thing to do. And in the urge of fighting it, you will develop a kind of compassion fatigue, because why should you go through all the extra effort, strain, and stress and concern and compassion for someone who doesn't give a you-know-what about their own well-being, and that's why they do the stupid things they do. So then sometimes what happens with compassion fatigue is, number one, get out of it when you leave. When you leave your shift, figure out some way that completely disassociates you from your work. Secondly, decompress and cathart. So if you need to do something that gets it out of your body and your system, just spew it up and decompress it. So it's very important to get it out of there. And some people need to shout and talk and cathart, and other people need to run really hard. But whatever it is, to decompress yourself after a shift. And thirdly, honor yourself. Thank yourself that you are actually in this amazing situation with your skill set to make people's lives very different, whether they're stupid or not. And so that may give you want to be able to thank yourself and honor yourself. That may give you a moment of, okay, well, human folly pays my salary is another way of saying it. It's dark humor. It's not great humor, but you may find yourself even resorting to dark humor as well. Don't give yourself a hard time. Remember, you're decompressing, you're catharting, and you're navigating something that just feels so wrong. Another way of looking at compassion fatigue is this. You get really angry at someone doing something stupid. Why? because you happen to care. You happen to care. You want this person to be okay. So compassion fatigue and that irritation with someone not doing what is really in their best interest is because you care. Because you give a damn to be there to help them, and you want them to partner with you or partner with themselves to do that which is going to make it okay for them. So compassion fatigue is often because you care. And if you stopped caring, then maybe you wouldn't have compassion fatigue. Or you might want to recognize that those moments of flare-up anger when you just want to scream and shout and swear and yell really meaningful things is because you care. And so to move away from the patients that you care for is important to do. Go care for yourself. Very important. Put caring for yourself. Number one, you came into this body. You didn't come into your neighbor or your patient's body. You came into this body. This body and this mind and this person is the most important person for you to take care of. So take care of yourself. Put yourself there. Don't exercise human folly on your own behalf. Don't put yourself second. Don't sit there and say, I'm going to work and work and work until I get to the end of the line of what people need me to do. You have a limit. You do have boundaries. Say no. Do what you can and move on. Do what you're equipped to do and move on. And when you feel that stress and fatigue, shift as quickly as you possibly can to another frame of mind. Now, in the website, healthworkersupport.com, I do talk a lot about shifting your brain, getting into another world. And I want to teach you a very quick set of tricks to be able to do it. Trick number one, doesn't work for everybody. It might work for you. You're looking at the screen, great. For just a moment, look above the screen and see how many colors of orange you see. Look for orange to your left and to your right and to your front and up and down, and just look for orange. Okay, second, now look for blue. Look to your left, look to your right, look up, look down, and look for blue. Okay, and now look for, let's see, red's common color, so look for red. Look up, red, look to your left, look to your right, look down to the ground, left and right, and look forward. Now, if you've noticed, I'm asking you to move your eyes. It's an EMD trick where you move your eyes to the left, you move your eyes to the right, move down to the other direction, look forward, look up, look down, look far away. But I'm also shifting your brain focus. I'm looking for colors. For goodness sake, there's all around us. You're going to be able to find them. So I'm actually combining things, and I'm also creating distraction. And that's what you want to do, is you want to create distraction for yourself during those times. Okay, we're going to do another trick. Here we go. Doesn't work for everybody. Does really work well from other people. Okay, same sort of thing. You're going to look away from the screen, and you're going to go and you're going to look for shapes. Okay, so go to your left, go upper left, and look to see if you can see any rectangles. Okay, look to your upper right and see if you see any rectangles. Look to your lower right, see if you see any rectangles. Look to your lower left, see if you read any rectangles. Look to the middle, all the way across the horizon, see if you see any rectangles. Look all the way up in the middle and all the way down and see if you see any rectangles in the process. So you're exercising your eyes, which are really helpful. You do it in EMDR trick, which is also really helpful. But mostly you're also distracting yourself by looking for a shape. And you can do that with triangles and with circles. And just the very act of doing that for 60 seconds is tremendously helpful. All right, here's another thing to do as well. When you're under stress, there are certain points in your body that are very relaxing. This is a very relaxing spot for some people. And so you just rub that and rub it on both sides. And for some people, it creates relaxation. Another way is they can squeeze their wrists and just flop their wrist around, and it creates a state of relaxation. Same with over here. And you'll notice that people will be using essential oils and rubbing forward and rubbing back and rubbing their head. And going like this is usually like, oh, human folly drives me crazy. And that actually may help you to be able to deal with the human folly. And then back behind the jaws, under the eyes. And then, of course, there's EFT and tapping, where you can tap different parts of your body that activate a sense of de-stressing. Let me teach you that really quickly. I'll take off my glasses. So if you tap here, and think about what it is you're going through, that's totally fine. You don't have to even distract your thoughts. Tap above your eyebrows. And again, you can totally think about what it is you're into. You don't even have to distract your brain. It's fine. And some people say, I can't get it off my head. That's okay. Some people can't get it off their head. They can't stop thinking. They can't stop visualizing. They can't stop having the nightmares. And this sort of way is actually a physiological way. And notice the spots where I'm doing it. I'm right underneath the collarbone. Okay, Now underneath your armpit, just karate chop your armpit. And right underneath your armpit. And bra line for those of us that are women, karate chop it together. And then you karate chop the sides of your hand. And then you might end with that wrist squeeze. And that's a quick way of just kind of creating refreshing. There's so many tools. And the book that I have for you gives you about 300 tools for you to use. And what you want to do is you want to pick and choose which tool is going to really work for you in order to be able to find those magic spots that match you in specific. But I'm feeling just so frustrated because while I have all these tools, what I'd really like to do is to tailor the tools to you specifically. I can't do that. I don't have individual time with you. But to tailor the individual tools and finding your tools that work for you is so important. And to do a daily recovery process. Every day, daily recovery. Just something that decompresses you and catharts what it is. You're getting it off your chest, getting it out of your head, and getting into something that's really helpful for you. Put yourself number first. Okay, so compassion fatigue. Hopefully you'll now see it in a little different way. It's because you care. There's no crime in caring, but you do have to care for yourself first. So if you have compassion fatigue, it may be because you need to really put that compassion and love into you first. Okay, now we move on to, let's see, and secondary traumatic stress. When you are exposed to other people's trauma and you're an empath of sorts, which most healers are, most healthcare workers have some level of empathy. And that relates to the compassion fatigue. But when you have that level of empathy, your body can actually resonate with what it is that's going on. Your emotions can resonate with what's going on. So as a consequence, you are going to have a secondary traumatic stress. And it's going to be related to that aspect of life that you're being exposed to. Again, recognize you're only one person. You know that old parable in the New Testament where Christ is getting his feet perfumed and washed? And for those of us that have a recollection of that, do you remember what he said? He said, there's always going to be the poor and the hungry among us. And it's also important to honor. And what he's really teaching you is self-care in that moment. And the Buddhist teachings, similar sort of thing. There's so much self-care that goes in the Buddhist practice of honoring yourself and being truthful to yourself and having it in ease with yourself so you're not judgmental with yourself, that you have that place. And one thing that also about some of the different practices is it allows a lot of individuality in what you're going through. Well, I do find myself a little frustrated right now. Why? Because there's so many things to offer you, so many things that will work for you. And I'm going to close with this last sort of explanation of that. Meditation. Meditation and mindfulness really does work for some people and really doesn't work for other people. And so when people say, I've tried to meditate, but it doesn't really get me anywhere, it's probably because the way they're meditating is completely not matching to who you are as an individual. So for some people, meditation is taking a run on a beach. For other people, it's climbing rocks and having life-harrowing, hair-raising experiences. So for other individuals, meditation is sitting very still and breathing beautifully into their lungs, into their sinuses, into their diaphragm. For other people, meditation is moving their bodies, and other meditations is keeping their body very still. Some meditations are making food and following really cool recipes and having wonderful smells around you. And for some people, meditation is listening to others. For some, meditation is talking. For others, meditation is staying away from everybody. So let's redefine what meditation mindfulness actually is. It's a state in which you can actually get your brain waves to calm down. Now, not everybody goes around with the contraptions to be able to measure your brain waves. So brain waves can go into gamma. That's when you're high energy, you're very creative, and you're just going for it, and everything is just like triggering in your head, and you maybe feel a little bit manic. You've had too much coffee, but you're just productive and capable. That's probably gamma brain waves are predominant for you. On the other end of it, when you're completely in a sound sleep, you've gotten yourself into your theta and your deltas. And for the most part, your thetas and deltas are so peaceful. And that's what a lot of people say is meditation, is when you go into that delta theta spot. And I can give you a lot of devices that actually teach you how to control your brain waves. One of which is Brain Tap, wonderful device. Another which is Muse, a wonderful device. NeuroSky, another wonderful device that I use with people so that they really learn how to move themselves down into a delta phase. And that's called meditation. For other people, when they're in the midst of riding a motorcycle across sandy deserts, that's when their brain waves are optimal for them. So you want to find what is meditative for you. And don't feel like just because someone else says it's good for them, that it has to be good for you. I thank you so, so much for what it is you're doing. Please contact me at drcarolfrancis.com. drcarolfrancis.com is my website. You can contact me through there. drcarolfrancis@gmail.com. If you are a healthcare worker and you'd like to have your portrait painted as well, I would love to do that for you. And you'll be able to see different portraits on the full version of this. I thank you so much for what you've done. I will continue to do slices of this to those of you that find that this is your way of decompressing. Take care. Namaste. Adios. Ciao. Thank you so much. Down the road.